feel like there's also a larger focus on the feminine in Wicca because so many feminine attributes are desirable in Wicca, like the receptive abilities, psychic abilities, intuition, things like that, that the benefits of the masculine ability, like traits and things like that, that are, I mean, it's stereotypical, yes.
Yeah.
But it's the way it's seen. It's even talked about in so much pagan literature that females are receptive and males are projective, and they have certain traits linked to them inherently because of their sex. And I think that plays a part in it because women are supposed to have these abilities automatically. And because Wicca teaches us that it's something that's not needed, but desirable, that emphasis is placed on women.
I think it's a lot of emotional connection, because I think it's just stereotypically viewed that men aren't as connective to their emotions as women are. They don't understand them as well. They don't search them as well. When, in reality, I think a lot of men really are. I think they just, I mean, especially raised in the society we have, it's harder. It's easier now, but it's been harder in the past that you know how to really, like, work through your feelings or understand what you're feeling and not ignoring it and just sort of going with this, like, gut reaction to it instead of like, searching through your feelings. I think it's, like, both ways. I think that women maybe feel into their emotions, like, at the very first instant a little too much, a little too fast, and then men maybe, and I'm talking totally stereotypically, but I'm gonna say, and then men apparently just cut their emotions off completely and have to be like macho men and be, you know, scary and terrifying or whatever it is that men do. But I think that it's not as prevalent in reality. It's definitely pandered to. All of the aspects have, you know, this sort of like dark and light and this and that. It's all about duality, and it's kind of hard to have a religion based in duality or, you know, more than two aspects when you have one aspect that's focused on more than the other one. And I feel like people need to realize that one is being focused on more than the other, and they sort of need to work through that in their own spirituality. Especially when it's women, like you said, who are coming from religions entirely devoted to the masculine aspect of things.
In researching to make this video, we listened to a bunch of podcasts and read an article, and the article was even more stereotypical than we're being, because it was flat out saying that men aren't usually called to Wicca because men aren't spiritual and they aren't in touch with their emotions. So, in having this hypothetical, stereotypical discussion, we're still not the worst resource out there. Another one of the issues that we came across is women have an inherent connection with the goddess, because each month we can see and feel our connection with the moon and things like that. But in today's society, a lot of the male roles that tied him to nature and to the god have kind of disappeared or are frowned upon. For example, we discussed agriculture and the hunt and things that were typical male functions in ancient cultures that are gone or thought to be horrendous morally in a lot of Wiccans' minds. I'm not saying mine, just some.
In general. It's a really obviously touchy topic to talk about male spirituality. I don't really know why.
I tend to tiptoe around the really touchy subjects in case you missed that part. But, so, because we can so easily feel our connection with the goddess and with the moon and with the earth each month, and with our own fertility, that it's not as easy to see men connected to nature and to Wicca because of that.
I think it's important to note that, I mean, for myself, I want to say one of the reasons that I was drawn to Wicca, because I, as a child, and even now, don't really connect well with gender roles or supposed gender roles for my gender. I think that that's really drawn me to Wicca, is that, or you know, into paganism in general, is more that you have this freedom over gender roles. You don't have a woman that just sits at home and, when she is at home working and that's her thing and that's a powerful aspect. But also when she goes out and she hunts or she goes out and she does, the more active role, quote unquote, then this is also a powerful thing. And for men, it's the same. It's like a man can raise a child the same as a woman. Maybe a man can't have a child, but he is in the process of having a child, and that child is his when it's born, just as much as it's hers. And I feel like that sort of fluidity between genders is something that really drew me later on, or that I realized was something that really drew me into pagan spirituality.
So I think we discussed with our study group briefly having a few workshops where the women went and did women's spirituality kind of things and the men got together and did men's spirituality things. And it didn't happen because the men decided that they'd just sit around and talk about gaming, I think. But the thing that struck me when we started having that conversation was that same week, I was invited to a women's spirituality retreat, and I had discovered so many books on women's spirituality, and I wanted to read them, and then I was like, no, I want to read the books on men's spirituality, and I found 2. So, do you have any sort of advice for male Wiccans looking to delve deeper into their spirituality?
Ooh, look, she's got like a surprise question.
That wasn't on the list!
Sadly, because I've always been sort of this connected to the spirituality, is that I never really looked at things like that. I never really looked at like books like, oh, this is geared towards a man or geared towards a woman. I just sort of read the book for what it was, and I didn't read into all the gender, inequality in it. I really think that what it is being strong in your own spirituality, being strong in your own masculine and feminine energy, being strong in your own beliefs, and I think that applying that to any book is going to give you inspiration into finding more for yourself, finding, furthering yourself in the spiritual path, whether that's means it's from a feminine book or a quote-unquote masculine book. I think there's plenty of books out there that are really, like, not gender-specific, especially 101 books and things like that. I think that there's a lot out there for you, as long as you're not specifically focused. Otherwise, if you are specifically focused on like the male, I guess you can go with just being out there on the internet is a lot of where you're going to find male spirituality. I know for a fact that there are male spirituality groups that you might be able to contact in your area. There's generally there's male retreats and male spirituality groups, and there's a lot of those things these days.
They're not as common as women's spirituality, but they're
True.
out there.
True, because I think women's spirituality sort of has that traditional basis now, because it's been around for so long.
Just like the male-only traditions of Wicca are not as common to find as, like, Dianics.
Right. Well, let's not even go into that. I think it's out there. It's hard to find. It's like trying to find your own BTW coven, but it's just something that if you're dedicated to it, you have to work towards it. And I think there's spirituality out there for everyone. I think it's just you have to apply less of the gender to it and more of the spiritual aspect to it. And the internet? I guess I'll just reiterate the internet, because there's a lot of males out there that are pagan, and I think that she has a lot of resources that you could probably go to as far as maybe not entirely masculine, but just saying in general, like a mix of people that are not just women, but actually tons of men on a lot of spiritual topics. So, and of course we can do more videos about it, I guess.
We can.
Or we can do more articles about it. There's tons of stuff to talk about, even if we can't think of it when we're on the camera.
We're probably still going to do a Through the Leaves post. And if you have specific questions, I can always drag him into another video in the future.
Yeah. That's true.
So.
Specific questions would be fun.
Anyway, we're going to wrap this up, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.